Breaking news for every driver watching this right now, because if you plan to get behind the wheel in January 2026, you need to know what's coming. Across the United States, 7 major driving law changes are rolling out or expanding fast. And I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying it because some of these rules can cost you hundreds instantly, and others can cost you thousands over time through insurance hikes, points, and penalties that don't go away quickly. And here's the part that should make you pause. Some of these changes are already being enforced in certain states quietly, meaning drivers are getting hit with tickets and higher rates without even realizing the rules changed. By January, more states are joining in, or enforcement gets tighter. Whether you drive every day, only on weekends, or you're just running errands twice a week, these laws don't care. They apply to everyone with a license. No grandfathering in, no I didn't know. And trust me, I didn't know is the most expensive sentence you can say to a judge, a police officer, or an insurance company. So in this video, I'm going to break down all 7 changes, what they really mean in plain English, and what you can do right now to protect yourself. Because if you take this seriously, you can avoid tickets, avoid rate spikes, and avoid the kind of driving record damage that follows you for years. Law change number 1, hands-free phone laws are expanding, and penalties are getting mean. Most drivers hear hands-free law and think, we already have that. And yes, some states have had these rules for years, but what's changing is the scope and the punishment. In more places now, it's not just don't text while driving. It's don't hold your phone at all while you're driving. Don't pick it up at a stoplight. Don't scroll. Don't tap GPS. Don't check notifications. In some cases, even holding it while your engine is on can be a violation. And the penalties are becoming less like a warning and more like a financial hit. In states that used to treat it like a small fine, we're seeing bigger fines, more points, and stricter repeat offender consequences. Things like required courses, community service, and even temporary license suspensions in extreme cases. Now let me tell you the real trap: stoplights. A lot of people think, I'm not moving, so it's fine. But under many hands-free laws, if you're in the driver's seat and your vehicle is active, that's still considered driving behavior. Here's the real-life situation. You're at a red light, your phone buzzes, you grab it for 2 seconds just to see what it is. You don't text back, you don't type, you just glance. If an officer sees that, it can still be a ticket. And once that ticket is on your record, insurance companies don't treat it like a small mistake. They treat it like, this driver is a risk. That's why these tickets can hurt you twice. The fine itself, insurance increases that can last years. How to protect yourself from change number 1. This part is simple, but you have to be disciplined. Get a phone mount and keep the phone mounted before you move. Use voice commands for everything: navigation, calls, texts, music. If you must use the phone, pull over, park, handle it, then drive again. And please understand, this isn't just about avoiding tickets. Distracted driving also increases crashes, which increases claims, which increases rates for everyone. That's why states are getting aggressive here. Law change number 2, speed cameras plus red light cameras are exploding. Now we're moving to something that makes people angry, but it's happening anyway: automated enforcement. Speed cameras and red light cameras are expanding in more cities and states. Even if you hate them, even if you think they're a money trap, your opinion doesn't stop the ticket from showing up in your mailbox. And here's the brutal difference. Cameras don't use judgment. They don't care if you were tired. They don't care if traffic was pushing you. They don't care if you didn't notice the sign change. They only care about what the sensor and photo prove. 2 things are changing in many places: higher fines, lower tolerance, meaning the buffer you used to get can shrink. So a driver who used to survive because they were only a little over the limit might suddenly start collecting tickets they didn't even notice happening. And red light systems can get stricter too. Some places reduce grace time, and that's how you get hit for barely crossing a line after red. Here's why this matters. Even when a ticket is civil, ignoring it can still create big problems: late fees, collections, registration holds, and a mess that becomes way more expensive than the original fine. How to protect yourself from change number 2. Drive light cameras are everywhere because more and more they are. If the light turns yellow, Don't race it unless you truly can't stop safely. Use a navigation app that alerts you in known enforcement zones. And check your mail, seriously. People miss these tickets and then pay double later. The one mistake that can cost 15,000 plus. Now let's talk about a law change that can ruin your year, and I'm not exaggerating: impaired driving crackdowns. Several states are moving toward lower legal BAC limits and tougher penalties. Even where the number doesn't change overnight, enforcement is tightening and penalties are rising. Law change number 3, lower BAC limits plus harsher DUI penalties. Most Americans know 0.08% as the standard. But the national trend has been moving towards stricter limits, like 0.05% in some places. And the scary part is how quickly your safe feeling can betray you. Because here's what drivers don't like to hear: feeling fine doesn't equal being legal. At 0.05% for many people, you're not talking about wasted. You're talking about what some people think is a normal night. 2 drinks with dinner, a couple beers watching a game, a few glasses spread out over time, but your body weight, your food, your metabolism, and how fast you drank can swing the number more than you think. That's why the margin for error shrinks hard when states lower limits or enforce more aggressively. And penalties are not just a fine. A DUI can bring major fines, license suspension, mandatory classes, and programs possible jail time. In some cases, huge insurance increases and ignition interlock device costs. But here's the part that breaks people. The total cost of a DUI is often far bigger than the court fine. Let's break it down simply. Court costs plus fees add up. Lawyers are expensive and many people need one. Insurance can double or triple interlock devices cost monthly. You can lose work time, lose job opportunities, or even lose your job. Some professional licenses and jobs take DUI very seriously. When people add it all up, a DUI can become a $15,000 to $25,000 disaster over time, sometimes even more. Here's a scenario that hits hard. You go to dinner with friends. You have 2 drinks. You feel normal. You drive 10 minutes. You get pulled over for something small. The officer smells alcohol, asks questions, does a test, and suddenly your normal night becomes court dates, fees, and panic. How to protect yourself from change. 3. This advice is boring, but it's the advice that saves lives and money. If you drink, don't drive. Period. Use rideshare, public transport, a friend, or stay over. Don't gamble on "I feel okay." If an Uber costs $25 to $50, that's cheap compared to a DUI. Now let's move to a change that surprises people because it hits from an unexpected direction, especially EV drivers. Law change number 4, EV registration fees, plus stricter emissions rules. States fund roads largely through gas taxes. If you drive a gas car, you pay those taxes at the pump. If you drive an EV, you don't. As EVs grow, some states are filling that gap with special EV registration fees or considering mileage-based fees. That means EV ownership can get more expensive in certain places, and drivers who bought an EV thinking no gas, cheaper forever, may be shocked when renewals rise. On the gas vehicle side, some states tighten emissions testing. If your car fails, you may need repairs before registration renewal. That can be painful for drivers on tight budgets, especially with older cars. How to protect yourself from change. 4. If you own an EV, budget for possible higher renewal fees. If you own an older gas car, test early so you have time to fix issues. If buying a new car, check your state's incentives and fees so you're not blindsided. The crackdown that can take your car and your license. Now we're entering the zone where states are done playing around: street racing and reckless driving. And here's the important point. You don't have to be an actual street racer to get wrecked by these laws. Law change number 5, reckless driving, plus street racing penalties, are getting much harsher. States have been dealing with more high-speed racing videos, takeover events, and aggressive driving that turns highways into danger zones. So lawmakers respond the way they always respond: harsher penalties, lower tolerance, and tougher enforcement. In some states, consequences can include big fines, immediate vehicle impoundment, license suspension, criminal charges, and for repeat cases, even felony-level trouble depending on the situation, and some places are even targeting spectators because they argue spectators encourage the behavior. Now here's why normal drivers should care. Reckless driving isn't always racing. The definition can be broad. You can get hit for patterns like excessive speeding, weaving in and out of lanes, tailgating, aggressively sudden lane changes, without signaling driving like your emotions are in control. And when an officer chooses reckless driving instead of speeding, the difference is huge. Speeding might be a fine. Reckless can be court, points, bigger insurance spikes, and possible suspension. Picture this: you're late. Traffic is slow. You start cutting, pushing, and flying through gaps. An officer sees it. Instead of a small ticket, you're hit with reckless driving. Now you're not just paying money, you're damaging your record. How to protect yourself from change, number 5. Don't let your emotions drive. Don't speed just to make time. Don't tailgate, don't weave, and stay far away from street racing activity even as a spectator. Because what's changing is not just punishment. It's the seriousness of how it's treated. Now let's get into a change that hits a lot of families hard, especially those with older parents or older relatives. Law change number 6. License renewal is getting stricter. In some states, several states are tightening license renewal requirements, especially for older drivers. The reasoning is simple. Vision changes, reaction time slows, and medical conditions can affect driving safety. That can mean more. Vision testing, knowledge testing, and in some cases, even road tests above certain ages. For families, this can be emotional, because driving isn't just driving, it's independence. But states are pushing toward prove you're safe instead of renew automatically. This can also surprise people who are used to easy renewals online. In some cases, renewals may require in-person visits, additional checks, or medical documentation, depending on the state. How to prepare for change. 6. Don't wait until the last second to renew. If you're helping an older family member, plan early. Get vision checked early if you suspect a problem. If someone struggles with driving, take it seriously before the state forces the issue, the final law change, plus your January 2026 checklist. Now let's finish the list with the 7th change, one that catches people off guard because it often happens when you're doing what feels normal. Law change number 7, move over, slow down, and work zone penalties are getting much tougher. Across the US, states have been pushing stronger enforcement around. Moving over for stopped emergency vehicles, slowing down for roadside workers, stricter penalties in construction and work zones, and harsher consequences when you don't follow the rules. Why? Because roadside deaths and close calls are real, and lawmakers are reacting with stronger punishment and tougher enforcement. Here's the trap. A lot of drivers don't intentionally ignore these rules. They panic, they forget, they don't see the vehicle until late, or traffic makes it hard to move over. But many states treat these violations seriously, especially if workers or emergency crews are present. And penalties can involve steep fines, mandatory court in some cases, points on your license, and big insurance effects because it signals unsafe driving behavior. Work zones can be even harsher. Many states have double fines in work zones, and some use cameras or extra patrols to enforce speed limits there. How to protect yourself from change. Number 7. When you see flashing lights, slow down early, move over when it's safe and legal, don't wait until the last second. Treat work zones like high enforcement zones, because they often are. Now, here's the payoff. A simple January 2026 driver safety checklist you can follow that protects your money and your record. Your January 2026 Don't Get Wrecked Checklist 1. Phone rule. Mount your phone. Don't touch it while driving, even at lights. 2. Camera rule. Assume cameras exist. Watch speed and stop lines closely. 3. Alcohol rule. If you drink anything, don't drive. Uber is cheaper than court. 4. Vehicle rule. Check your registration costs, especially EV fees. Test emissions early if you own an older car. 5. Behavior rule. Don't drive angry. Reckless driving is becoming a serious charge, not a slap on the wrist. 6. Renewal rule. Renew early. If you or a family member is older, plan for extra testing. 7. Roadside rule. Move over or slow down for lights and work zones. Don't gamble. If you do these 7 things, you avoid most of the expensive traps coming in January 2026. CTA plus engagement teaser. Now, I want to ask you a simple question. Which one of these changes worries you the most? Phones, cameras, DUI rules, EV fees, reckless driving, license renewal, or work zone enforcement? Comment the number below, 1 to 7, and tell me your state, because enforcement varies, and I can cover state-by-state updates in future videos. And if you want to stay ahead of rules like this before they hit your wallet, make sure you're subscribed, because the worst tickets aren't the ones you deserved. The worst tickets are the ones you never saw coming.